All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, with the analytics crave off to the races in the National Football League as well as other sports leagues, it has helped to devalue certain positions. And no position in the NFL, in my opinion, has arguably felt it more than the running back position. The analytics gurus, if you will, that are leading some of these front offices around football will tell you that the running back position is not as important for a variety of reasons. Running backs getting worn down from the physicality of the position, them being more susceptible to injuries and so forth. We've all heard all of the excuses, okay? But you just look at the season that some of these running backs have had and are still having in the NFL. You look at the New York Giants and their general manager, Joe Shane, who relied heavily on his analytical background. And from there, he would tell us that this team would be okay without running back Saquon Barkley. Of course, we know what happened there. He had a big 2022 season where he gained more than 1,300 yards on the ground and had 10 rushing touchdowns to help the Giants get to the postseason. But from there, New York decided to franchise Barkley, and instead of signing him to a long-term deal, while they gave the money to quarterback Daniel Jones. And I'll just let you fill in the blanks from there as far as how things played out for the Giants. Granted that the Tennessee Titans, well, they were rebuilding. They're just not a good team right now, okay? But last offseason saw them allow Derrick Henry to leave Nashville. And all that the future Hall of Famer did in his first season with the Baltimore Ravens was to rush for more than 1,900 yards in a season for the second time in his career and help Baltimore get to the divisional round of the playoffs. We saw the Las Vegas Raiders not pay Josh Jacobs last offseason, and he had one of the finest seasons for a ball carrier in the illustrious history of the Green Bay Packers. Matter of fact, he had the fifth highest rushing total in a single season for the Packers this season. All in all, 16 players rushed for at least 1,000 yards this past season, which was up from 12 just last year. And on top of that, of 10 of those 16 players were on playoff teams. So you can try to pretty up the game of football all that you want to based on what the computer says. But at the end of the day, you still got to run the football. Okay. The quarterback position, in my opinion, has been immensely overvalued. Okay, you look at some of the ridiculous money that some of these quarterbacks are getting paid right now to be mediocre. All right, and at the same time, the running back position has been undervalued. As you know, before this past offseason, a lot of these guys basically had to beg to go out there and get money. And it's not just in free agency. It's not just when it comes to the extensions. How many overrated quarterbacks or overvalued quarterbacks do we see get taken in round one of the NFL draft each and every year? And I guarantee you, 2.5 months from now, in the 2025 version of this draft, we're going to see it again. While taking a running back now in round number one is basically almost frowned upon. But in the case of both Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, when they were with the Giants and Titans, respectively, the quarterbacks that they played with on those teams got paid off of their productivity carrying the football as they were able to thrive off of play action. You think about Daniel Jones with the Giants, and of course, former Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill. And I'll tell you like this: I know the Giant fans probably feel like this, but ask the Giants now if they regret not taking care of Barkley as aside from being their best player on the field. And I said this for the last couple of years, okay? And I think people are starting to see it play out now. He was also the heart and soul and the only true leader on that team. And that's important. Why? Because those are intangibles that analytics cannot account for. At some point, you've got to use your common sense, your common football sense, and you got to see who the glue to your team is. The Giants dropped the ball there on that one. big time. Okay, it's not just them. I know that the Titans let Derrick Henry go. They signed Tony Pollard. Okay, another 1,000-yard back. You look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They lost Joe Mixon in free agency as he signed with the Houston Texans. He was a valuable ball carrier for them this season as well. And you look at this rebirth of the ball carrier in the National Football League, if you will. Also, you've got the return to old school coaches like Dan Campbell with the Detroit Lions. He loves to run the football. And you look at Saquon Barkley, and I've talked about this, and I'm going to continue to talk about this. You know, in the case of the Eagles, we know that they've got talent at wide receiver. We know that they've got talent at quarterback, but their bread is buttered by their offensive line and the ability of Barkley to run the football. And if Philly's going to win that Super Bowl next Sunday, the legs of Saquon Barkley are going to have a huge factor in that. So you look at this rebirth of the running back position in the NFL. Another question for me is, does it bode well for Boise State running back Ashton Genty and some other ball carriers who could hear their names called early in the 2025 NFL draft? I think it does, because you look at Ashton Genty, yeah, he has a lot of carries on his body, from his time collegiately at Boise. But you know what? He can be a difference maker for the right team from day one. And there's going to be some people, I guarantee you, if Ashton Genty goes in round number one, they're going to be scared off of him in the earlier stages of round one of the draft. But I could see Genty falling to a playoff team from this season and going in there and fitting right in. Can you imagine Ashton Genty going to a team like the Los Angeles Rams? I know that they just have Kyron Williams, who just ran for 1,000 yards this past season. He could fit in there. What about an Ashton Genty with the Cincinnati Bengals? What if an Ashton Genty fell all the way down to the end of the draft to the likes of the Kansas City Chiefs? I know I'm just throwing it out there. They have a Kareem Hunt, they have a Isaiah Pacheco, but it's a scenario where the rich could get richer. Or what if you have a scenario where an Ashton Genty falls into the lap of the Washington Commanders, a team that just made the NFC Championship game, phenomenal rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels, and they're looking to put the pieces around them. Just throwing it out there, okay? But at the end of the day, will we ever see the National Football League go back to a 3 yards and a cloud of dust league? No. I think that era of football has come and gone. But at the end of the day, you've got to run and you've got to keep on running. I think we've had an era where we've tried to push the quarterbacks too much. We've had an era where you try to go out there and do everything through the quarterback, and we've had an era because of analytics where we have devalued the running back position, and some of these front office people who are just analytics people and computer people feel like, you know what, we can just put anybody at the running back position. No, you can't just put anybody at left tackle and expect that person to protect a quarterback that you're paying 40 or $50 million a year to. Like I said, you still got to run the football. You look at the New York Giants again. Granted, I'm not here to say that Saquon Barkley would have been a savior, because the Giants, for the 4 games that they won, if they had Saquon, they probably would have won 2, maybe 3 more. But nonetheless, it's one of those where when you have a team that is lacking for something and needs an identity, sometimes it starts, with your ground game, if that makes sense right there. You got to go out there and you have to establish yourself in the trenches. You can fancy up football all you want, you can pretty it up, but at the end of the day, you still got to go out there. You got to stop people defensively. You got to get after the opposing quarterback, and you have to win the battle at the line of scrimmage on offense. And for all of the phenomenal wide receivers we have, or all the dynamic quarterbacks in the NFL, it doesn't matter, and it won't amount to a hill of beans if you can't keep an opposing defense honest and you can't run the football. You look at football nowadays. Most of these teams, they get down in goal to goal situations. They're relying on their quarterbacks. And of course, it's a tight spot right there. We've gotten away from the physicality of the game, smash mouth football, and being able to run in those tight quarters. If you're able to run, you're able to win. And for everything that we talk about with the quarterbacks, going into next week's Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts for the Eagles, and of course Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs. We know we got talent on both sides of the ball for both of these clubs, but at the end of the day, you've got to run the football. Whichever team is going to go out there and establish that offensive line, whichever team is going to go out there and be able to run the football effectively and efficiently, consistently, is going to win. At the end of the day, you can try to change things, but the NFL and football is as basic as it is. It's about the fundamentals. Run the football, establish your line of scrimmage, and take it from there. These are things that analytics teams tends to gloss over, but at the end of the day, it comes down to physicality and running that ball. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.